Rejuvenate, restore, refresh, and heal. At Fantuzzo Acupuncture, we seek to help achieve effective health and wellness in an elegant spa-like atmosphere. Fantuzzo Acupuncture specializes in traditional acupuncture, cosmetic anti-aging acupuncture, acupressure, cupping, CBD topical creams, and more. Approach healthcare holistically. Visit FantuzzoAcupuncture.com to book online today. FantuzzoAcupuncture.com.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.
That's right, Taylor, 500 help. Taylor for all their plumbing and heating and air conditioning and home energy. All the great things that they offer at Taylor Heating and Plumbing. Of course, they do duct cleaning there as well. Comprehensive maintenance plans can be found at Taylor. And also ask Jerry about this air conditioning system we got here at the We the People Podcast Network, because it's kind of fabulous. I'm not going to lie. Taylor, 500 help. They do it all. Air conditioning, heating, plumbing, financing. Of course, they do that for you as well. Make sure you check it out. It's Taylor 500 help. And you want to make your lawn look fantastic, you got to get one of those zero-turn lawnmowers, one of them riding big daddy of lawnmowers. And you can buy those at Precision Lawn and Garden, 195 North Avenue in Webster. Precision Lawn and Garden in Webster is open weekdays 8 to 5, Saturday 9 to noon. They have everything that you could possibly imagine: blowers, chainsaw, lawnmowers, riding, zero-turn, whatever you need. New models, on sale models, all still products, Cub Cadet, Ferris, and Toro. Anything you want, Kimberly and Justin will make sure you have it. Precision Lawn and Garden, 195 North Avenue in Webster. And you want your driveway to look nice, right? Nothing makes your curb appeal look nicer than a freshly sealed driveway. So call the guys at Express Sealers. They are not one of those door knocker sealing companies that you don't know where they got the stuff to seal your driveway, right? These guys are experts. They do a great job. They treat grease spots. They, patch cracks in your driveway. They are fantastic. Call today, 645-2010. That's 645-2010 for Express Sealers. Make sure you tell them that Kimberly's Revolution sent you. We don't have Tom for the open.
Live from high above.
Yes.
530 Titus Avenue in Irondequoit.
We are.
Kimberly.
It's Kimberly's Revolution.
Kimberly's Revolution.
With Chad Hummel. How are you?
I'm doing great.
It's Wednesday. Yeah,
Didn't I sound just like Tom?
No.
Oh.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I thought he was here.
Nice, Austin.
Thank you. Of course, Kimberly's Revolution brought to you by Rockbox Productions. They're in Bushnell's Basin, and they make everything happen. So thanks to Fitz, Rockbox Productions. Austin is here, our guy who produces the entire thing. He's here, and we welcome him as we always do. And of course, we welcome all of the Patriots who are watching and listening right now to Kimberly's Revolution on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. We the People Podcast Network. We appreciate all you guys. And make sure that you frequent our sponsors, because they support us. And we want you to support them because, of course, their sponsorship means a lot to us and allows us to keep going here on Kimberly's Revolution. So we're glad that you have joined us. We've got, Michelle, happy hump day. Happy hump day. Jamie, hi from Hilton. Love listening while working out in my new raised veggie garden.
Huh?
Yeah, so she has a raised veggie garden, and she probably has it all, cordoned off so all the animals won't get to it, right, Jamie? I bet your vegetable garden is fabulous.
She's working out in her garden.
Mm-hmm. And
I heard that she's working out in her garden. I was like, who works out in their garden?
You can message us. For some reason, it's bigger today. The print is bigger. Did you do something?
I did.
Okay.
Matt Fritz said, can you make it bigger? And I did.
And you did.
Yeah.
I can actually read it.
Austin, you're amazing. So you can message us. I mean, I could read them. Barb, hello from Boca.
You've been messaging us for weeks now, and none of us have been able to read it. We can.
I can read it, but this is so much bigger.
Yeah.
You guys didn't ask me to make it bigger.
I always ask guys to make it bigger, and it never works out.
Later on hump day.
They always promise, but you know how it goes. Promises. I promise I can make it bigger. but Austin made it happen. So yay.
Yeah, I'm the best.
How are you on a Wednesday? You're not in jail. We haven't got another letter. Are we doing okay here?
I know it's kind of boring around here these days. It's been a couple weeks since I got a letter. It's been about a month since I got arrested.
Oh, well, we got a lot of stuff.
With myself.
I got a lot of stuff to get you riled up. One, this is no surprise. It was something we're going to cover today is the blue state exodus. That is not surprising, right? The blue state exodus, how Americans are fleeing in droves, New York and California for Republican states of Arizona, Idaho, and the Sun Belt. It's a thing. We're not there. It is right there. You can see that, people are leaving in droves to go to other states. Right. So people getting the hell out of Dodge.
People are voting with their feet.
People fleeing New York, Illinois, and California for Texas, Idaho, Arizona, and the Kakalakis, as I call them, the Carolinas.
The Kakalakis.
Which, one of these days
South
here in
Carolina. Here I come.
Not too distant future. That's where we're going when my husband can retire. He's got 20 more months.
Nice.
So that is the goal. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We've got the picture. And of course, we're also going to talk about the Capitol rioter, Ashley Babbitt. She was the Air Force servicewoman who was shot coming through a window at what they now call the insurrection, the terrorist attack on the Capitol, of which you were there. We're going to, her husband says, hey, listen, the guy who shot his wife has never been named. It's interesting because
say his name,
right? What is the name of the guy who shot Ashley Babbitt? That's the name of the show today is Say Their Names for a Reason. And we're also going to talk about unvaccinated kids at prom who got their hand stamped. I know that would send you into a frenzy, I'm sure. If your son was at prom and got his hand stamped, marked, if you will, to make sure they could tell the difference between the vaxxed kids and the unvaxxed kids. That's a conversation. We've got the picture of the hand stamp. Also, we're going to talk about the mayor who has Mayor Lovely Warren, who's coming out this afternoon and saying she really doesn't care about Cedric Alexander's endorsement of Malik Evans for mayor. And by the way, as we come on the podcast, Kimberly's Revolution here today, it is another shooting death in the city. So now Monday, I think I told you, we're 24 weeks into the year and we had 25 fatals, right? 25 homicides. We're still only 24 weeks into the year because, it's just Monday. And now we have 26 homicides.
Gun violence.
And counting. Mayor Lovely Warren has not made this city better in the years that she has been mayor. In fact, she's made things much worse. And she is not very happy that Dr. Cedric Alexander, her former deputy mayor, is endorsing the other guy. But here's the thing. He can't endorse a criminal. So we'll play her video coming up in just a little bit. But Jane says, hey, Kimberly and Chad from Cohocton. Nice. Cohocton checking in.
We have Cohocton Chad.
And now and Tom. And now the news.
Tom's making an appearance from the golf course.
I don't want to know how drunk he is. I'm just going to say that right now. Elaine says, have you heard anything about Washington being shut down today? No, as in like Washington, D.C. or the state of Washington? Because there's some parts of Oregon and Washington that we just kind of wish would go away. Joy said, I'd like to know the total of all shootings, even without fatalities. I think it's 150 some, but don't quote me on that. It's 148 total shootings with 26 fatals as of this afternoon. It's in that. It's over 145 and under 155. So it's in that range.
Yeah. And if you're trying to identify shootings, obviously there's probably dozens of shootings that are off the record, so to speak.
Right.
How many shootings occur that nobody even knew happened?
Well, shootings where there's no victim. I think she's talking about shootings where someone was injured.
Oh, where somebody ended up going to the hospital.
Where someone ended up. Well, here's the thing. They're dropped off. Whoever they drop them off in a car, and then those people that drop them off are never to be seen again.
At RGH,
it's kind of like a drop and run. Hey, sorry, you got blood all over my car, but I got to go to the, the car wash now and clean my car out. I don't know.
The liquor store closes in 20 minutes.
Right, I got to get there, and so sorry, I'm just going to drive. So basically, it's a drive-by of a different kind.
Yeah.
Someone's shot. They take him to the hospital. They push him out in the emergency room lane, and then they hightail it out. So, Yeah, I do believe it's 145 to 155, give or take, of people that have been shot who haven't died. But the random gunfire, you guys, is every single weekend, multiple shots fired.
Every single night.
Every single night, every single weekend. Every day that ends in Y, there is gunfire in the city. And the majority of time, it doesn't have a victim. But 140 some, 150 of those times, there were victims. And 26 of those times, they were fatal. And we're only in the early part of June. We're mid-June right now.
Say their names.
Yeah, say their names. But the thing is, nobody knows the names of the fatals. Could you name one person that was shot and killed in the city since January?
No. Nope.
Could any of the members of Free the People Rock or BLM?
They don't give a shit.
They don't give a rat's ass.
Nope.
They don't give, and that's
or a
sad.
rat's ass.
They don't give a shit or a rat's ass.
They don't give about
exactly.
they don't give a shit about the shit that comes out of a rat's ass.
well, true. So Say Their Names is the name of the of Kimberly's Revolution today for a reason, and the reason is because this yearbooks come out this time of year, right? All the kids are excited to get their yearbooks with their friends. They're in classrooms. They're messing around. They're having a great time. You know, yearbooks, you can look back and remember, hey, I was the best in debate class. There I am debating at whatever. I mean, what kind of organizations were you involved in high school that if we were to open the
detention,
the East Irondequoit or West Irondequoit high school yearbook?
Aquinas. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I was
That's
private
right.
school
Ew.
educated.
You fancy.
Come on now.
You fancy. Aquinas. Sorry about that. So if we
I
were
didn't go to that shithole East Irondequoit that I send my kids to.
you have so many kids, you can't afford to send them to private school.
Exactly.
So you went to Aquinas High School. You graduated 1992.
Thank you.
So if we were to go to the Aquinas yearbook 1992, what would we see Chad Hummel doing?
This is what you wouldn't see. You wouldn't see me in the team photo for the varsity football team that went undefeated.
Why?
Because I was in detention that day and many others.
No, you were not.
Of course I was.
Are you
I
serious?
missed the team photo. We went undefeated.
Because you were in detention.
The only team in the history of Aquinas football in the old City Catholic League
Yeah.
to go undefeated.
And you,
And Aquinas has a storied history in football.
of course.
And in 1991, the fall of 1991, we went 6-0 in the City Catholic League, the first undefeated Aquinas football team in that old City Catholic League.
Yeah.
And myself and a friend of mine who I won't incriminate him on the show, but we were both in detention, where we often were our
right.
senior year.
So you weren't in the picture of the football team, but you could have been. I mean, if
Yeah.
you were to go back and look at my Fort Osage Indians yearbook from 1984 in Independence, Missouri, you would find me on Honor Society stand. You would find me in the student.
Excuse me.
You would find me in the student council pictures. You would also find me homecoming, the homecoming court.
They didn't cancel
for
you out of the
homecoming
yearbook?
queen. You would also see me as a varsity cheerleader. What you wouldn't see are propaganda pages dedicated to a terrorist organization in my high school yearbook. But that's what we're finding in Brockport, where they dedicated several pages of the 2020, 2020, and 2021 yearbook to Black Lives Matter. We've got the picture. There it is. There it is. That's the Brockport yearbook, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. So before we go any further, I have a quick question.
Say their names.
What-
Black Lives Matter in the middle of the Brockport yearbook.
My initial thought when I saw that was, did somebody transcribe the say their names over that? That doesn't look like the text that's actually part of the yearbook.
I think it
It's
is. That's a
okay.
picture someone sent to me.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to play the video from one of the Brockport students. She's a senior. Her name
Oh,
is
great.
Nina, and she's very brave. And she actually stood up in front of I believe it's a school board, and she told the school board her opinion of Black Lives Matter signs at school and also in the yearbook. And we're going to play that, but in just a second.
It's not just Brockport either. I heard
in the yearbook.
correct on the yearbook this situation with Black Lives Matter.
Seriously?
On Facebook today, where this was posted, other parents chimed in from at least two other school districts, Brighton and West Irondequoit.
Really?
So if it's in
That had-
Brockport, Brighton, and West Irondequoit, there's many others as well that had similar layouts, Black Lives Matter layout spreads in their yearbooks.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, right? This is all the rage now.
Wow.
It's the propagandized. They've been doing it to our kids all these years. They never let up. So
here you have it.
Yeah.
So I get this today. I'm like, are you kidding? That is not what a school yearbook should be all about.
Can I say a couple of their names?
School yearbook should be about the fun you had while in school, the friends the pictures of your friends, the teachers that you loved, the classes that you loved, the clubs that you were in, the football games that you went to, or the basketball or the lacrosse game, or whatever it is, what is school all about?
It's about Daniel Prude.
It's not about Daniel Prude. This pisses me off big time.
It's disgusting.
That doesn't belong in a high school yearbook. Go ahead. Let's say some
of their names. So
okay. Say some of their names.
On the right side, you can see a list of about 100 names.
Right.
So I literally picked 3 names to randomly Google.
Okay.
I Googled Alteria Woods. Are you familiar with who Alteria Woods is?
I've heard the name.
Okay. I had heard the name too. It sounded familiar. So I say I randomly picked them, but I did recognize that name. Alteria Woods. She was killed during a police raid. The FBI was raiding her boyfriend and her boyfriend father's home on warrants for drug sales, and there was warrants out for either the boyfriend or the father or both for a murder or for another shooting. Her boyfriend used her, and she was pregnant at the time, used her as a human shield.
Wow.
And she was unfortunately gunned down by the police officers.
Because the boyfriend
used her.
Shield.
So other than the fact that she was exercising very poor judgment and associating herself with this individual and the individual's father, she was used as a human shield. The officers, of course, their case was placed before the grand jury, and they were, of course, no billed, meaning there was no charges brought, and their names were cleared. And now her name lands in somebody's yearbook under this false flag of Black Lives Matter, this Marxist organization. Say their names.
Yeah. The cop haters.
Yeah. Why say her name?
So in fact, everyone that looks at the Brockport yearbook will go, oh, there's the cop hater section.
Yeah.
There's the cop hater section. Isn't that nice having a yearbook? Isn't that sweet? And you have so many fond memories of stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I was in the backgammon club, and oh yeah, here's the cop hater section of the yearbook. Go ahead. You have 2 other names that you Googled.
Marquise Jones on that list. I don't know if you've ever heard of that name. I had never heard of that name. You Google his name, and he died apparently back in March of this year, March of 2021.
Okay.
The cause of his death and the motive for his death is unknown. He was found in a lake. He disappeared, and he was later found in a lake dead.
Why is his name on the list?
That's all we know. He was black. Therefore, he must have been murdered by racist cops, because he was found in a lake dead.
Wow.
And I Googled it further to see if there was any follow-up stories.
Right.
Those are all of the news stories as of March of 2021, when he went missing from college. He was in college, I believe. He went missing. There was a search. Up in a lake. And they found his body in a lake. And there's no cause of death known, and there's no murder weapons, and there's no motive, and there's no suspects. But say his name.
Okay.
Say his name in the racist cop hating section of the yearbook.
Yeah. What's the other name?
And then we have Corey Stingley.
Okay. That name doesn't ring a bell at all.
Yeah. Let me see if I can read my chicken scratch here. Oh, so Corey, he was at a retail store, and he was stealing, he was shoplifting. And when he went to the cash register, he was called out. They knew he had goods on him that he wasn't trying to pay for. He had put his card down to pay for some things that he brought to the counter. And when they called him out, he tried to grab his card and leave. And he was grabbed and restrained by 3 employees, according to the news report. 3 unidentified employees. And they held him down. And you know where this is going.
Until cops arrived.
They held him down until cops arrived. When the cops arrived, apparently he was foaming at the mouth, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, the coroner.
That's what happens when you're on drugs?
I don't know. That they didn't say that in the report. That's what I was thinking myself.
Okay.
But he died. And maybe, who knows? Maybe they exercised excessive force, but they were just employees of a store that were trying to prevent a shoplifter from leaving.
Right.
And then the cops showed up, and they were also cleared.
Right.
These 3 individuals. Has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with police.
And it certainly doesn't belong in a high school yearbook.
And it's certainly under any pretense doesn't belong in a high school yearbook.
Doesn't belong in a high school
yearbook. But say their names. Say their names, propagandize our kids, take up time in their yearbook to promote your disgusting liberal progressive agenda. It's just so disgusting.
And here's what I would do. Here's what and I would tell my daughter to do this. Take the yearbook back. Take it straight to the office. Take it to the yearbook office. Want my money back right now. However much it is for a yearbook. What is it? $50?
Probably.
I think it's $50 for a yearbook. I mean, it could be more. I don't remember what I paid for all of Chloe's yearbooks, but I guarantee they didn't have that shiatsu in the freaking yearbook.
My son didn't get a yearbook. I wish I would have.
Doesn't belong. That's such a guy thing, though. Guys don't
care. I could give a shit.
Guys don't care.
I'm curious. Martin Luther King Jr. is listed in there. Are they talking about that Martin Luther King, or is this just a coincidence?
No, I think they're talking about that Martin Luther King.
Okay, just
really
checking.
Who was assassinated.
So his name's in there. I didn't see that.
In Memphis at the hotel, right?
Nope.
But again, has absolutely nothing. I mean, but there is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter doesn't care about the 26 deaths in Rochester that we've had in the 24 weeks so far in Rochester. But they've got a whole section in the Brockport yearbook. I mean, I don't understand what the goal is to name it. So the kids are supposed to look up the names and figure out. So, hey, I'm all about learning. And just like you did, you Google the names, you find out, okay, why are their names on there?
Yeah.
But it doesn't belong in a high school yearbook. So there is a senior at Brockport High School who was brave enough and well-spoken enough to stand up before the school board. And now, of course, you know what's happening. I mean, she's getting a ton of hate.
Oh, yeah.
I did invite her on the show. She wasn't able to make it today because it was kind of last minute. Someone sent me her video at like 1:30 today, which is, I think, when I sent it to Austin going, oh, my God, can we get this? I know it's late, but can we get the video on the show? Because I have a did you know there's a deadline?
I just gave Austin a picture 5 minutes before we went live, and he was professional and kind and mumbling under his breath, "What an asshole!" But he got it posted. Though.
I don't mumble anything under my breath. If I think you're an asshole, I'll let you know.
Nina was brave enough to stand up. I mean, I know parents that aren't brave enough to speak their opinions. Right? Oh no, I can't.
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, I can't say that. Well, I'm definitely not you. But I mean, you have it spray painted on the side of your house. But there are people, adults, that aren't brave enough to stand up for what they believe in, right?
Correct.
She's not racist. She's not whatever they call it, colorist. She's not making a stand for white supremacy. She's just saying, hey, this stuff doesn't belong at Brockport High School. Here is Nina, 17-year-old senior at Brockport High School. Do we have the video?
I hear everybody asking for feedback, so here is mine. Stop allowing the school to indoctrinate me. In a year of controversy, school was supposed to be my safe place like it always has been, and I was let down. I would like to walk you through my senior year. COVID was in full swing, and I was grateful to be back into school, but it quickly hit me that things would go downhill. I was forced to wear a mask in each class with little breaks, 8 hours with my face covered as I breathed in my own CO2 and microfibers from this mask. The next time that my senior year was being infringed upon was walking through the halls looking at BLM Fist on the TV screens. I, as an individual, do not support the BLM organization because that is a choice I have. Whether or not Brockport agrees, they have a responsibility to stay neutral and support everyone. Picking a side is indoctrination, no matter which side you pick. I should not have to walk through the halls and have it forced down my throat. All lives matter, especially in a public school. I thought to myself, what about me? What about my family that came here to escape the hands of Fidel Castro? Don't we matter? Doesn't my life matter? It doesn't, because I'm white. That is what I was taught this year. Next, I faced cyberbullying after posting the thin blue line on my Snapchat out of respect. I received comments like, just because your daddy's a cop, and you're just racist, say it already. And now parents saying I'm ignorant and closed-minded. I immediately thought about my freshman year when the sports group got reprimanded for calling an opposing player Becky on Instagram, which apparently offended her. But what did these people get that called me racist and dragged my family's name through the mud? I never heard a thing. I was told a story by my teacher who was called racist for being white. And she returned with the comment, I'm Polish. Do you know what my people went through? Disciplinary action is selective for both students and teachers, which brings me to my next event of my senior year. Sitting in my economics class, going back and forth with my teacher, who was saying that socialism is not all that bad, and how some kids are just born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I had had enough. I spoke up and said something along the lines of how people have to work for what they want, and America is built on that. After about 15 minutes, the bell rang and interrupted our debate. And from my teacher, I heard, and I quote, "You are just a naive 17-year-old girl." I put my hand up as to say stop and walked out. This event was brought up a few more times and then tossed to the side like every other negative experience I have had this year. You have failed me. Throughout this economics class, I was indoctrinated each and every second, from watching biased videos that blatantly talked about police brutality to assignments that forced me to state my political party and my family's. The first thing I noticed when walking into this classroom was a sign in big letters stating, "Race denies us humanity." I asked Mr. Burley multiple times what this sign means, and over the course of months, he responded with, "That is for another day." So all this time, students sat staring at this large sign, telling them that the color of their skin makes them less human. No matter the true meaning he believed stands behind that quote, it was never explained. And I can promise you, this was not the only class.
So she goes on basically to say that
what did the sign say?
Racism denies humanity. Racism denies humanity. So that's what the sign says. But that is Nina. She is a Brockport senior. Her family is from Cuba. They came here to the United States. They made a life for themselves. They worked so that she could go to school and get an education, which she has clearly received her education.
Wow, she is intelligent.
Very, very well spoken.
Well spoken.
Very mature, right? Her family did a great job. I'm assuming the Brockport School District did an amazing job with this young lady because she is.
Well, I'm going to beg to differ on that.
Yeah.
I think that what we just watched there is a display of her upbringing and her own internal fortitude, and she survived, and her intelligence is shining through despite shot. But I believe that she probably withstood what Brockport tried to do to her.
Yeah.
As she explained in her own words.
Right, exactly.
Her teacher trying to indoctrinate her.
Right.
Calling her a naive 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, basically what the teacher said is, you're too stupid to understand anything.
Yeah.
So keep your mouth shut and get on down the hallway, little girl. That's basically in a nutshell. That's what that teacher said. You're too stupid and too young to understand what the adults are saying. So keep quiet and move along. That's what instead of getting into a decent conversation where someone can learn something, this teacher basically brushed her off. She gets into it later where she talks about, and she touches on it, the BLM signs, the racism signs in Brockport School District. And then she gets into the yearbook. But how many people are brave enough to stand up and say what she says?
And this was at the school board?
This was in front of, I do believe it was a school board meeting. Yep.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Her parents should be so proud of her.
Way proud. And of course, her father is a police officer. And then she took heat for that. But
you know what department?
I don't know what department he's in. But great job of raising this kid.
Yeah.
I don't know where she's going to college, but they're lucky to have her.
She mentioned, was it a teacher? What was the Polish reference? She mentioned that somebody was Polish and about their upbringing.
Yeah. And don't you know what our ancestors went through in Poland during World War II?
Well, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I always like to focus on when people play the victimhood role. Every race, every creed, every religion, every human being,
right,
of every stripe
matters,
has faced some sort of discrimination in their life, in their own way.
Right.
And we all, as human beings, we all have to know and learn how to overcome whatever challenges we have. And certainly some individuals have, bigger, tougher, roads to haul than others. But at the end of the day, we're all left to our own, right?
Mhm.
And our families are in charge of, helping pull us through.
Right.
And hopefully our churches and our schools and our
Right.
teachers and things like that. And I'm just, and I know so many people are, and it becomes so cliche, but the whole idea of continuing to beat this drum of racism as some sort of crutch for everybody, it just gets so tired and so old. It really does.
Yeah.
Because we all have love in our hearts at times, and we all have hate in our hearts at times.
Sure.
And that's all racism.
Because we're human.
Yes. Racism.
Right.
Racism is nothing but an individual expression and a byproduct of maybe some hate that you might have in your heart. It's not an institutional thing anymore. It just isn't. There was a time when it was.
Sure.
But it was worldwide for decades, for centuries.
Right.
It was a worldwide economic trade for centuries. It just was. That's a matter of fact. And in 2021, for our school districts to continue to indoctrinate and beat that drum in our kids' head, it's child abuse.
I think
it's
they're
downright
really
child abuse.
Well, I think it's been ratcheted up
They
a
are.
level
Oh,
or two.
absolutely.
In the last year, I think things have been ratcheted up a couple of levels. I mean, if you're going to say their names, and I think Daniel Prude was also a picture on
Front
that
and
yearbook.
center. He got a picture.
Let's talk about his years and years of drug abuse. Let's talk about his family pawning him off on someone else.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what, the ravages of drug abuse does to a person's body and what it does to families, because that family didn't want him. And just recently,
neither did Strong Hospital.
The Prude neither did Strong Hospital.
But the police had to deal with them for 9 minutes and pay the price. Who pays the ultimate price for the 9 minutes that they had to deal with them? These 7 police officers who've had their lives ripped upside down.
Exactly.
I talked about it on an earlier show, and that is that, like you just said, the man was what, 40? How old was Daniel Prude? In his 40s, right?
In his late 40s.
I was going to say 47.
In his late 40s.
So it says next to his picture 30.
Oh, he's only 30?
I think you're thinking of George Floyd.
You're right.
Yeah, maybe.
But, okay, let's assume he's
so
30.
30 years old.
Who can do the quick math? How many minutes was Daniel Prude alive for before he encountered Rochester Police Department on that cold February night?
For the second time.
That
was the second time that the Rochester police had dealt with him.
Those 9 minutes were probably less than 1/1,000,000th of a percentage point of the time he spent on this earth. And what led him to that moment? His family, his teachers, his priests, his doctors, his counselors, his therapists, everybody that encountered Daniel Prude and had an opportunity to help him become who he was leading up to those 9 minutes. And we have to say his name in the context of we're racists.
Yes.
Right? You go to Brockport, you're a white kid in a suburban school district in basically rural New York.
Right.
I mean,
it is rural. Yeah.
Relatively speaking, Brockport is rural New York still.
It is rural. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Daniel Prude's picture gets slapped with a photograph in your yearbook to make you do what? To make you, instead of focusing on, like you said earlier, hey, so-and-so
times in your life.
Sign my yearbook.
Right.
We won the state football championship together. We were in band together. We did debate together.
No, feel bad that you're white.
No, let's talk about Daniel Prude.
People are dead. Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about Daniel Prude and how his family and his school and his educators and his pastors and his doctors let him down. That's what we're supposed to focus on.
That's exactly.
It's such horseshit.
That's exactly right. To where drug abuse got him to where he is. And where Breonna Taylor was with a guy again in Louisville, with a guy
Louisville
that had a warrant out for his arrest. I mean, again, Black Lives Matter, a terrorist organization, has no business being in a high school yearbook, and shame on Brockport. Shame on the yearbook director who that managed to get this in. And you know that the school had to be behind it, or it would have not happened, right?
How about we find out, what do we always say? We say follow the money, right? I just wonder, did the school district get money?
to put
How much
that in?
money? Black Lives Matter, as we just learned, $90 million.
Multi-million-dollar organization.
Having some insiders, having some original founders of Black Lives Matter come out and started attacking BLM because of missing money, and they want an accounting of $90 million.
They need an audit because it possibly was misappropriated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe some of the money is going to these school districts, right? Nobody does anything for free. They just right. I mean, let's face it.
They don't.
So, does somebody in Brockport want to do a FOIL request? Find out from the school district. I want to see a copy of the check. I want to see a copy of the wire transfer that came from BLM Incorporated, because that spread did not go into that yearbook for free.
I'm sure it did not.
Guaranteed it didn't go in there for free.
So there was funding from BLM into our local school district.
So now BLM is funding our school district.
Of
course they are.
Listen, you have an economics professor that says socialism is okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
This is what they're teaching our kids.
Just look at Venezuela. It works.
Oh, it works so well.
Hold on. It's Kimberly. It's democratic socialism.
Oh,
that's not the bad. There's bad socialism and there's good socialism, according to these clowns.
I love how they paint that, though.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
democratic socialism.
Wow. And it's also teaching them to hate the police. Yeah. I mean, you look back at your yearbook, man, I can't wait to see the yearbook for my senior year. And then you get this. You get this because you want to feel bad about your senior year, right? As if it weren't bad enough that the kids had to sit through COVID and all that freaking nonsense.
Yeah.
Then they get a yearbook that's got this in it. That's disgusting to me.
They wonder why I call them perverts.
It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. Shame on Brockport and any other school that put this, tripe in the school yearbook. Shame on them. So there's the mayor of Rochester. She's had such trial and tribulation.
Not the mayor of Realville.
So trial and tribulation for the poor mayor. Nothing is her fault.
Oh, yeah.
It's the fault.
She's doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, yeah.
God put her down here, and she's handling racism still.
She's got a deputy mayor, a former deputy mayor, who was on her staff for probably about 2 years, I think. Cedric Alexander was also the Rochester police chief for maybe a period of a year and a half. Very smart guy. You see him on CNN a lot. He's like a go-to.
Oh, really? He's on CNN?
He's not on. He actually does a lot of different national shows.
Okay.
He's kind of their go-to guy, for different topics. So he came out and said, I am not going to endorse Mayor Lovely Warren. I am endorsing Malik Evans for mayor of Rochester. And of course, Mayor Lovely Warren says, really? That's so shocking to me. But here's the thing. And of course, she had a really snarky response. But the thing is, Dr. Cedric Alexander cannot endorse a criminal, which is what she is.
She's an alleged criminal. She hasn't been.
Oh, there's her husband.
She hasn't been convicted yet.
Yeah, there's her husband. He's got the towel over his head.
I think he's got Tom's blue shorts on.
The blue shorts that are in the corner?
Yeah, there's these blue shorts on the floor over here. Tom's not here. His blue shorts are on the floor. I don't know if he went missing. Maybe he'll be in the Black Lives Matter yearbook next year.
Here is Mayor Lovely Warren as she addresses the fact that a guy who was behind her for a number of years has decided that, you know what, he's backing away slowly from that one. Do we have mayors? Yeah.
Did you hear what happened today? Today, my opponent brought in the ultimate cops cop to talk about reforming the police department. Really? It's clear he's about only protecting the status quo. He said, police need support. And I say, the community needs support. He said, police need to feel good about themselves. And I say, the community needs to believe in their service. He said, that I make police feel uncomfortable. I said, that's what we need to finally deliver reform. They've had 200 years to change the system, and they haven't. He didn't talk about protecting you and your families or investing in your success. He talked about making sure City Hall supports the police. Well, it's simple for me. I'll always stand by you, the people of our city. I always have, and I always will. That's how we create a stronger Rochester, to bring more jobs, safer, more vibrant neighborhoods,
Not exactly.
and greater educational opportunities.
More
in our
shootings.
city.
Yeah.
So while other candidates take money from police unions and worry about protecting them, you know that I'm focused on one thing: protecting you and all of our city's families. That's who I care about. That's who we value. We will work in partnership with Chief Cynthia Harriet Sullivan to finally reform our police department.
Okay.
To support our officers.
Is she out of her ever-loving mind?
She has been in charge for 7 years. Is Rochester better today in terms of poverty or violence than 7 years ago?
Her husband's under federal indictment and continued investigation
on drugs
for
and
drugs and
weapons.
weapons. As she stands here and says that she's going to make Rochester a safer and better place and more prosperous place for the individuals. Now, here's
one of those guns was in her bedroom, by the way.
Really?
I mean, I know everything that's in my bedroom.
I probably don't.
I'm just telling you, as a woman, I know what's in my bedroom. And if there's a gun hidden there, but she's a liar.
Oh, yeah.
She's not telling the truth. She's a liar.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is that, not that I want to give her any credit, but I mean, she is a lawyer. So that obviously makes her a liar. And her lips were moving in that video.
Right.
She was clearly lying.
Right.
But she knows exactly what she's doing. She's playing both sides of the fence. I mean, the propositions that she was making are not mutually exclusive things. It is possible, right? And certainly this is how it should be. The mayor of a city should support its police department.
Yes.
And should have good things to say about its police department.
Right.
And should take steps to correct its police department if the police department actually does something wrong. And the mayor should also support its people.
Yes.
And should also try to have its people prosper. Those don't have to be competing ideas.
The other thing
unless you want them to be.
She's the one that kept the whole, Daniel Prude thing quiet.
Yes.
And then tried to blame her police chief.
Correct.
Throw him under the bus.
And look at how she stands there in between the statues of Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass.
Right.
I mean, give me a break,
Yeah.
Mayor. You're never going to have a bronze statue. You might have some stainless steel handcuffs. In fact, it looks like she does. What does she have? She has
the handcuffs on
both wrists. Yeah.
Jewelry, yeah.
And she's got her hands together. She looks like she's practicing.
Preparing. she's preparing for what's coming.
How disrespectful to those two two historic figures.
Everyone should be angry about that. Here are two people that did make Rochester better.
Yes.
And in fact, one woman who made women's rights better for every single woman.
Well, those two individuals, Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony, are two of the most historic figures in the country's in the world's history.
In the country's history, yes.
As far as women's rights and African Americans' rights.
That's it. That's exactly right.
They were unbelievable public speakers. And then she stands there and disrespects their honor with this bullshit and this propaganda that she just spewed.
But, I got to say, she says, Malik Evans isn't trying to make anything better. My comment to Mayor Lovely Warren is, in 7 years, has anything gotten better?
Yeah, what has she done?
The police force has been reduced to like a few individuals. They're being mandated to work double shifts. Mm-hmm. Because there are not enough Rochester police officers to cover all the shifts. And why do you think that is? Because they're scared to death that if something goes sideways, they're going to be indicted, brought up on charges, and their lives and their families' lives are going to be ruined because they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt because they don't have the support of the city. Yeah. Basically, what Mayor Lovely Warren wants to do is let all the people and all the criminals just run wild. Don't make any arrests. Don't do any. And really, she has clamped down on the police so they can't do their jobs.
And that's not that's not propaganda. I mean, that's the truth.
I've heard truth.
I've heard directly from officers' mouths that their philosophy out on the street for the past 18 months has been,
let it go.
If we don't do our job, we can't get in trouble.
Yeah. Let it go.
That's their attitude.
Let it go. And that's a horrible thing. Again, look at the murders.
Yeah.
26 in 24 weeks. That's ridiculous. Another fatal today as we came in to do Kimberly's
violence.
Revolution. Yeah.
It's the gun's fault.
And there's Lori. She's gonna get reelected.
Lovely.
I thought That was Lori. Yeah. I mean, but that's where we are. And of course, what she said was he's a cop's cop, referring to Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, as if that's a bad thing.
Is that a bad thing? He's a cop's cop. Did you hear her at the very beginning of that?
Yep, I sure did.
Talking about Cedric Alexander supporting Malik Evans. Yeah, he's a bad guy.
Because he's a cop's
Dr.
cop.
Cedric Alexander, because he actually supports the police.
Well, she couldn't call him a racist because he's African American.
Here's who you have running. She's already under indictment for campaign fraud.
Her husband's under indictment.
And her husband is under federal indictment for drugs and illegal weapons. And there she stands with the gall to stand between Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Doug. It would not have surprised me if those two cement statues came to life and just started beating her. She deserves it. She just deserves someone to take her and shake her and say, what are you thinking?
She might as well be standing in between, Al Capone and I don't know.
Right?
Pick somebody else.
Nixon.
There you go.
Right? I am not a crook.
Unreal.
But yeah, I mean, that is true. Or, one of the mob from back in the day.
Well, that was Capone.
Well, Capone, but also for Rochester mob.
Oh yeah,
right.
Sure, we had big time mob here in Rochester.
Do you know
A team and the B team?
That one of the B team guys? Well, I think they're all dead now. The Torpies, the Tommy Torpy and
yep.
Tom Taylor.
Yep.
Which one was it? It was down in Florida. He just died. Gary Craig tweeted it yesterday.
That was Torpy.
Was Torpy. So one day we were talking about, the whole mob scene in Rochester, and we were talking about Tom Taylor and Tom Torpy. And Tom Torpy's wife down in Florida apparently had a phone call from someone here, and she called up hollering at us.
On your show?
We put her on the show, and then we said, well, listen, if your husband's there, let's go right to the horse's mouth. Put Tom Torpy on. And he did. It was probably one of the best conversations that we ever had with an alleged mob member. Said he never did anything wrong. That's what he said.
Rochester is a phenomenal mob.
But there she is.
Yeah.
Basically,
a modern day mobster.
Basically insulting Cedric Alexander, saying he's a cop's cop, because being a cop is basically a bad thing now.
Yes, she insulted the entire Rochester Police Department, is what she did, and then she wonders why.
She wonders why there's so much violence.
Yeah.
She wonders why there's so much gunfire in the city. She wonders why there's so much, drug activity.
If you teach your kids to disrespect law enforcement and authority, then what do you think they're going to do if they have an encounter with law enforcement? She's speaking to the youth of Rochester.
Yes.
When she says he's a cop's cop in a pejorative way.
Right. You don't want, and by the way, I mean, I don't know how, but people believe that she's going to win. Do I think she's going to win?
She very well might.
She very well might. And wouldn't that be a sad day in Rochester? We reelected someone who's under indictment herself, and her husband was a part of a mid-level drug gang. Is that who we are?
Let's just get her a statue now.
Is that what Rochester is all about? Where would you put it? What would she be doing? I don't even know. So we have that story. And then I want to move on to a story that you took part in personally.
I did?
Yeah. You weren't there inside the Capitol, but you were outside with the thousands and thousands of people that were at
hundreds of thousands.
That Capitol, you were at the Capitol on that day.
The Capitol rally.
The protests, right? The Capitol rally.
The insurrection.
You were not inside.
No, I was not inside.
Inside the Capitol.
So my lawyer keeps telling me to say.
But I know someone who was under federal protection because of Torpy. Oh, that's from Kelly.
Nice.
That's pretty interesting. Put it in the jail.
Tell us their name, Kelly.
They say put her statue. Andrea says put her statue in the jail. That's a good.
Perfect.
Put her like in
stripes.
In stripes
or an orange jumpsuit.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Yeah, I know someone who is under federal protection because of Torpy. So Tommy Torpy has passed away in Florida. I'm not sure how old he was, but I think he was probably in his 80s.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is what I thought. So at the Capitol rally, Ashley Babbitt, who was the Air Force, she was in the Air Force, right? she was shot as she came through a window, right? The person who shot her has never been named.
Say his name.
Say his name. There she is, Ashley Babbitt. She was an Air Force servicewoman, spent years in the Air Force.
Yeah, she was a racist.
And her husband says they have not been told the identity of the officer, the Capitol officer who shot his wife dead during the Capitol riot. Here is the husband saying, people know the name. Why haven't those people been named that shot her? Because we know the names of some of the 44 people that were arrested for being inside the Capitol during what they call the insurrection, right? They tracked those people down fast, and we found out all their names, including, I think there was a Rochester guy who was arrested.
Dominic.
It starts with a P.
Palezzi or Pergolesi or something.
Something like that, right?
Yeah. Aquinas kid.
We yes, because I asked if you knew him.
Yeah.
He was
graduated a couple years after me.
Yeah, he was older or younger?
He's younger.
He's younger.
Yep.
And I
a couple
asked
years younger.
if you knew him, and you said you did not.
I did not.
We found out that name very quickly. But Aaron Babbitt says he still hasn't been told the identity of the officer who shot his wife. The Metropolitan Police Department has refused to name the officer. The Department of Justice says they're not going to pursue charges against the officer who shot her. So he is now suing to get the name of the officer.
The husband is.
The husband is. Yeah, here he is, I think, on Fox.
Who shot your wife on January 6th? Do you know?
I don't know. Somebody knows. Somebody up in D.C. knows. I think a lot of people know, but nobody's telling us. And the silence is deafening.
I mean, you're an American citizen. Did you know that in this country, you can be shot to death by a government employee and no one explains who did it or why? Did that even occur to you before January 6th?
No. That never occurred to me. And furthermore, I never expected to lose my wife to political violence. So,
right. But he did.
I have to ask, I mean, how do you feel about seeing her characterized the way that you have? How do you feel about the total lack of interest in her death?
It sickens me to hear what people say about Ashley. There's never been a person that Ashley ran across in her daily life that didn't love her and wouldn't remember her in some way, shape, or form for the rest of her life. But this is the game. This is the social media craziness that, you know, people just run with a theory and just take off with it.
True.
And, you know, it's up to us. You know, it's up to us and the ones that love her and people like you for not giving up on it. So I appreciate that, Tugger.
Well, yeah, and it's in my case, it's nothing to do with politics. I mean that. You shouldn't be allowed to shoot someone. Cops shoot people all the time.
Yeah. So basically, you know, he's not being told. No one's been punished. No one's been brought up on charges. There were no disciplinary proceedings for that officer that we don't know who shot her. And if you go back and watch the video of her coming through the window, there were a lot of people coming through the window. Why?
Exactly.
Why her? Why that bullet? Why? You know what I'm saying?
That was my first thought. My immediate thought was, okay, put the officer's name aside and whether he was right or wrong for shooting her. But as you said, as you prefaced this discussion, I was there. I saw tens of thousands of people peacefully rallying outside.
Right.
And then I also saw thousands and thousands of individuals who, from my vantage point, I could see were gaining access to the Capitol. I had no idea what was actually going on inside the Capitol. I learned by watching the news later that night when I got back to my hotel, the same way everyone else did. But my immediate thought was, okay, Ashley Babbitt was one of hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who breached security at the Capitol and entered the Capitol.
That is true.
So how is it that she's the only one that got shot? It just doesn't make sense.
And how is it that the FBI called you, found out your name?
They called my law office by, and I'm trying to remember, was I at the Capitol on a Wednesday? I think the January 6th was a Wednesday, I believe.
Right.
If I can recall correctly. By Monday morning, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, within 5 days.
They were calling you.
They called my law office.
They called Jeremy Capel.
They called Matt Fritz.
They
showed up at Matt Fritz's house.
Yes.
So 3 individuals in Rochester plus Dominic from Aquinas, who's under indictment, there's 4 individuals in Rochester alone that were contacted by the FBI.
That everyone knew the names. Everyone knew
my name. Yes.
Everyone knew your name.
Yes, Rachel Barnhart was retweeting my name along with Jeremy's and Matt's on Twitter saying
that you're terrorists.
Arrest these domestic terrorists.
Yes, that you're terrorists.
So to this point with Ashley Babbitt, let me say this. I never want to be a hypocrite. Nobody does. So let me think very long and clearly here. About 4 seconds. I can figure this out. If she did something illegal to the point where an officer felt threatened, to a point where he felt the need to discharge his weapon, to the point where she was unfortunately murdered, then so be it. It happens. We take risks. Yeah, okay.
True. That's true.
If I get pulled over at a simple traffic stop and I lose my mind for 2 seconds and I jump out of my vehicle, I could get shot and killed.
You could.
And you know what? It would be tragic, and it might seem very wrong that an officer would have killed me under those circumstances. But let's look and see what officers are dealing with right now. If I jump out of the vehicle,
they don't know what's happening.
They have no idea what's happening,
and
at that point it's their life or mine.
Right.
And so if the officer in this case with Ashley Babbitt ultimately didn't do anything wrong, then so be it. But why don't we know his name?
Yeah, you don't.
Why don't we know who he is?
We don't know. All we do know is it's possibly a guy who kept his job after leaving his gun in a public men's restroom.
Huh?
Yeah. Apparently in 2019, this officer responsible for shooting Ashley Babbitt is the same one who made headlines for leaving his loaded gun in a Capitol restroom in 2019. So that's what we know. But for some reason, they're hiding the identity of the officer. And what they're saying too is there are many, many unnamed co-conspirators. And they're saying they're unnamed co-conspirators because they believe that some of the FBI had helped put together this Capitol riot. And some of the unnamed co-conspirators are actually FBI. Now, I know that is like Tom's, hey, we got to get the silver hat. You got to put your tinfoil hat on because it's a conspiracy theorist. But that is the theory.
Now we're talking like Lee Harvey Oswald type of shit, right?
And it's gaining more and more traction. It's kind of like, hey, the Wuhan virus was really
I know.
What
a bunch of liars.
Right, a bunch of liars. I mean, that
hydroxychloroquine. What a liar Trump was.
That's turning out to be,
what a misleading,
a very true story that the
orange clown he was.
The virus was man-made. Now we're finding out that the FBI may have helped plan the Capitol insurrection.
Here's the thing with conspiracy theories. Anytime somebody immediately hits you with, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory, right? That's always that's the easy, intellectually dishonest response when
basically calling you a nut.
Yes.
Right.
That's the response from an individual who can't intelligently come up with their own theory.
Right.
You come up with a theory then as to why a Capitol police officer, as Tucker pointed out, how in America can a government police officer, federal government employed police officer shoot an unarmed citizen inside of the Capitol?
A former Air Force servicewoman who served this country.
Yeah. And we don't know the person's name.
Don't know the name.
Tell me the theory then.
Don't know the name.
What else would the theory be if it's not this crazy conspiracy theory that maybe it was a setup or maybe there was some sort of nefarious
and she really stuff
going on.
There were other, protesters already inside the Capitol when she swung her leg over. Again, the video is out there. She swung her leg over and was coming through the window, and that's when she was shot. And then a couple of them stopped and kneeled down to see, oh my God, she's shot, and then a couple of people stayed with her. But I mean, yeah,
we have actual
6 months later, we have no more information today than we did the day she was shot.
We have actual video and camera footage,
the best camera footage
of Capitol police officers taking selfies with these protesters, with these insurrectionists, right? That were there to start a war.
Right.
And we have Capitol police officers. So on one side of the building, we have Capitol police officers taking selfies with these warmongers, right? And then on the other side, we have Capitol police officers shooting people.
Weird, right?
How do you make sense of that?
Weird.
You're a
I know.
conspiracy theorist.
But I thought
That's the
that
answer.
was interesting. I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
As I mentioned, of course.
Glad I didn't get shot that day.
I'm glad you didn't get shot. We're out of time. I don't know how we got out of time so quick.
I know I had all these great COVID statistics to go over.
Next week, you have to sit in on the show like Monday or Tuesday for the daily revolution.
So real quick, all the restrictions get lifted in New York State.
Yes, isn't Cuomo the savior of all of us?
But isn't somebody's daughter getting married this weekend in New York State?
That's what I hear.
Cuomo's daughter.
That's what I hear.
Just another conspiracy theory, right?
Well, it's just another fact of Cuomo's family taking advantage
of COVID.
Of COVID and having daddy as governor and
exactly.
The power. So all the people that had to have smaller weddings or no weddings or have to go away somewhere else to get married or couldn't have grandma and grandpa at the wedding, no worry about that because Cuomo has lifted out all the restrictions so that his daughter could get married.
Or a graduation.
Yeah,
we still can't have.
Or funerals.
We still can't have grandparents come to our son's graduation on June 26th. Right now, it's still 3 people can come. And an outdoor, stadium venue, only 3 people can come. But Cuomo can do whatever the hell he wants.
That's
Him
right.
and his family can do whatever the hell they want.
They have access to all the COVID testing. They have access to all the vaccinations way before anybody else.
Yep.
So you understand he's the governor, right? That he gets
Say his name.
He gets that.
King.
Don't you understand?
King asshole.
He and his family are better than your family. Don't you understand?
I certainly understand.
They're more deserving of you.
Absolutely.
Please understand that.
Yes.
That Cuomo and his family are more. You're just a peon.
Him and Chris.
In a family of peons that don't matter in New York State.
You're in Irondequoit.
You understand.
High above Titus Avenue.
I'm glad you do.
It's Kimberly.
It is Kimberly's Revolution with
and we
Chad
have great
Hummel.
sponsors.
Yes, we do. We have great sponsors. Of course, we want you to support them. And as always, you got to say what Tom says today. What did we say?
Go America.
That's it.
Rejuvenate, restore, refresh, and heal. At Fantuzzo Acupuncture, we seek to help achieve effective health and wellness in an elegant spa-like atmosphere. Fantuzzo Acupuncture specializes in traditional acupuncture, cosmetic anti-aging acupuncture, acupressure, cupping, CBD topical creams, and more. Approach healthcare holistically. Visit FantuzzoAcupuncture.com to book online today. FantuzzoAcupuncture.com.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.